What's up guys, Xenogard here, and today we're going to be taking a look at what's probably going to be my league starter for Synthesis, which is going to be either a Trickster or an Occultist Chaos build. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people are going to be running this. Soulrend looks really juicy, but I'm interested in doing Bane specifically, and specifically figuring out if Bane can be used on its own or if it's specifically a utility skill. I want to try to make Bane its own thing. I want to make it its own skill and only use Bane, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. So if not, I've made a very generic Trickster tree for chaos damage, and you can pretty much slot in any chaos spell in the game, which I have done over here. I have setups for Volblight and Blight, setups for Essence Drain Contagion, setups for just Soulrend if I need to fall back on that, but this build is mainly going to attempt to focus on Bane itself, running Tri-Curse as either an Occultist or a Trickster. I'm going to personally be going with Trickster because I haven't done one in many leagues, and with the new Trickster changes, I really want to test out the Escape Artist and Ghost Dance nodes. They look really juicy, and I'm not 100% sure how I want to build this. Take a look at the different trees that I've built so far. I have 6 different Trickster trees and 4 different Occultist trees. I have Pure Life, I have Life EB and Mind Over Matter, I have Pure Hybrid, I have Pure Hybrid with Phase Acrobatics, I have a CI variant, I have a Low Life variant, and then the same thing for Occultist basically. I have Life, Hybrid, CI, Low Life. I think I'm leaning towards going Pure Hybrid with the possibility of swapping into Low Life later in the league. I think that's going to give us a lot more damage in the long run, but I'm just going to go ahead and focus on kind of the new clusters that I've taken in probably the majority of these builds, with the exception of like maybe Life and Life EB. Pure Hybrid takes it, I know. Pure Hybrid Phase Acro apparently does not take it. I know CI definitely takes at least one of them, and these are the new shield nodes that are placed in the tree. Low Life takes it as well. So I'm just going to focus on the Pure Hybrid tree. This is the one that I think I'm going to start with. It's got a decent... The life might seem a little bit low. It's under 5k. But we've got 2.6k energy shield on top of that, and with the new changes to Ghost Dance, being recover 5% of your evasion rating in energy shield every time you get hit, that's going to be going back up constantly. And if we work in even Soulrend into the build as a supplementary skill to Bane, as in putting Soulrend in like a 4-link, we'll have a lot of ES recharge. So this will be going up quite frequently. Plus, we have Patient Reaper, which is one of my favorite Ascendancy notables in the game. Recover 2% of your maximum life, max mana, and or 2% life, energy shield, and max mana on kill is incredibly strong. And then, of course, you get the 50% increased damage over time and 70% increased recovery of life rate, mana, and energy shield if you're killed with damage over time recently. This is an incredibly powerful node for sustaining in maps. I've run this node before in an RF build, and I've actually at times would drop my life flask because it was just not needed. And like just sometimes I would just swap out other flasks if I could do the map fast enough. If I was just mapping. Incredibly powerful node. The other node, this will probably be Uberlab. I'm not doing these in any specific order. It's probably Uberlab. We got a little bump in this. It used to be 15% more damage over time. It's now 20% more damage over time. So it's just more damage. And all the other stuff, skilled effect duration is pretty good. Reduced damage taken from damage over time. Not too bad. We're not CI in this case, so it benefits us a lot. Ghost Dance, the changes that they made to Ghost Dance. We get +5 chance to evade while you have energy shield. I can't remember if that's, I believe that's new. 3% reduced damage taken per Ghost Shroud. That's pretty strong. That's up to 9% reduced damage taken. That's reduced damage across the board. That's everything. So that's incredibly powerful. Every second with every second gain Ghost Shroud up to a maximum of 3. So over 3 seconds you get 3 full stacks. Whenever you hit, you lose Ghost Shroud and recover energy shield equal to 5% of your evasion rating. It's incredibly powerful, especially when we are running about, we're running 10,000 evasion. That's what, like 5,000 ES, something like that. I don't know. I can't math. You can all, or not 5,500. Still pretty good. And then Escape Artist. We're running this mostly for the dodge and the attack and cast speed increase per Ghost Shroud. You used to be able to get a lot faster attack and cast speed from other sources, but that's why I'm going to run it. I'm going to make this so it's very, I know it doesn't show it now, but I'm going to make this so it's very block heavy and very attack and spell dodge heavy. Even though I'm not going to be taking phase aggro, I might take it, I might not, we'll find out. But I'm going to try to make this so that I basically have Ghost Shroud up at 3 stacks almost all of the time. You get +5 evasion for your max energy shield on your helmet, so it is very good to have either a hybrid helmet or just a raw energy shield helmet that's very high. You get a lot of evasion from it. Same thing for your chest. The chest can go one of 2 ways. It's usually better to go with a hybrid chest in this case. You'll get the best, you usually get the best out of it. However, if you get a chest that has like 2,000 plus evasion rating, it actually does start to beat out over most hybrid chests you can get, and even some pure ES chests that you can get. So that's something that I'll be tinkering with a lot. Anyway, that goes with the Ascendancy. Let's look at the skill tree for the pure hybrid version. See some of the new notables that they've added. Resourcefulness. This used to be I blanked on the name of the old part of it. It's basically the same except they've taken the all res out of it and they've given you 5% life regen, which is pretty decent, especially if we do stay hybrid. It's nice to have that life regen as always, and get max life, energy shield, evasion rating, all good stuff. The lethal assault nodes are actually really good. Like, they don't 10% increased area effect, and then a 5 and a 5 with proj damage and just flat increased damage. These nodes are incredibly powerful. In fact, they beat out things like blast radius a lot of the time. Like, I would take blast radius if I could, but I'm a little stretched thin. But these early on are going to be incredibly good, especially for something like Bane, which benefits from, you know, area of effect. It'll benefit from area damage. It'll benefit from, so your chaos skills. So Hexmaster will also benefit Bane. Another new notable, Soul Thief, just for the max energy shield, evasion rating again. We get 0.3% of spell damage leeches energy shield, but because we're a chaos-based build, I don't believe that will count. It doesn't show up in PoE, so I assume it doesn't. I was under the assumption it didn't anyway when I took these. So we won't really be leeching any energy shields, which is why I did not take the new energy shield leech nodes, because damage over time does not hit, so it cannot leech. Any other new nodes? Oh yeah, up here we've taken Arcane Swiftness because we are running a shield. So we get that 5% increased cast speed. We also get the 25% spell damage because we are running a shield with 25% block. I am not 100% sure. I haven't actually checked this. I'll check it later. That I don't know if that's just your shield's attack damage or if that is indeed your block chance. Because if that's your block chance, that could be really juicy. You also get 20% chance to avoid elemental elements and being stunned. We can't be stunned anyway, but the avoid elemental elements is pretty decent, and we get extra blocking attack damage. We are most likely going to be running roomies in this case, so I don't currently have it ticked in the POB, which I'm about to do, but it's very nice. We're just going to be running this. We're going to be running Atrophy because it's a very decent cast damage, just nice 5-pointer for cast damage. Running Hexmaster, obviously, since this is Bane, we're focusing on curses. We're trying to make Bane as big as possible. Hexmaster is always great. If Bane ends up not being good, we'll probably spec out a Hexmaster and go into something else. I'm not entirely sure yet, but I do plan, regardless of what happens with Bane, sticking with Tri-Curse. It's just how applied Tri-Curse might be a little bit different. I'll probably still use Bane to apply Tri-Curse. I'll just run Bane and then the 3 curses and a 4-link. And in that case, I might keep Hexmaster, I might not. We'll kind of see. Another new notable that we got is Arcane Expanse. This gives us spell damage, gives us area damage, area of effect, and then spells have increased area of effect if killed recently, which is really interesting. And then I think the 2 small ones are just spell damage and increased spell effect. These are this is an incredibly powerful 3-pointer for sure. Like I said, these new nodes, they take, like, in my opinion, they're much better than Amplify and Blast Radius. Just my opinion. And then the last new notable that we got is Arcane Guarding, which gives us 0.6% chance to block a spell while holding a shield, increase spell damage while holding a shield, increase energy shield from the equipped shield, and 20% spell damage if you've blocked recently. That is incredibly, incredibly powerful. Also, the singular node over here gives us another 40% increased energy shield with a shield equipped, and spell damage and block recovery. It's really good. And then these 2 little ones over here are just chance to block spell damage and increase spell damage while holding a shield. These are incredibly powerful nodes. Most spellcasters will be wanting to run a shield, and these are incredibly, incredibly powerful nodes. The rest of the tree is pretty standard. We get an extra curse over here in Whispers of Doom. We're taking the whole corruption wheel. You can kind of drop these 2 points and place them somewhere else. I didn't really have any other good place to place them. These were the best 2 points I could take. I usually level up my trees to about 92 because it's usually roughly where I will end most of my characters. We take as much life as we can get. We're taking both of these down here because we want as much evasion as possible, and since we're going hybrid, we want both the life and the ES, so we just take life NES, life NES, life NES. We're pretty much going full hybrid with this build. As far as the items are concerned, I do have different item sets in here, and this POV will be linked in the description below. But I do have life and hybrid sets, I do have low life and shav sets, and I do have CI, and it says ghost just because it's just focusing straight on Ghost Dancer. I do have sets for each one of these. I was recently thinking that instead of running something like a Stib Knight, which is something it's one of my favorite flasks in the game, instead of running something like this, maybe even instead of a Sulfur Flask, if I feel like I don't need the damage, kind of want to keep the Quartz Flask, I might run a Roomies, which would bring us up to 50% block chance and 20% spell block, which is pretty significant. And then maybe finding some other items that might help boost that even higher as a trickster. That would be pretty neat. I'm thinking if we do that and we go low life, and we go with a Roomies there. Oh, not low life, excuse me. We went CI and we took a Roomies there. I was thinking about using the Perfect Form, which gives us evasion rating is increased by uncapped cold resistance. I did not prep and make my cold resistance incredibly high, but it also gives us phase aggro, which means we would have 50% spell block, 50% block, 20% spell block, 40, that's actually not 40%, we'd have 60% spell dodge because we get 20% from Escape Artist, so 60% spell dodge and then 10% attack dodge. That's pretty damn good. I'm leaning towards doing something like this. Even if I go, low life, we could actually, instead of running a Shavs, if we get enough Chaos Res, we could probably run a Roomies Concoction in our Flask slot. That would be a little bit hard to fit into our Flask setup, probably would go in over a Sulfur, but it is a Roomies in a bottle, so we could potentially run that and run a Perfect Form on top of it. I don't know. There's a lot of things to test with this build, and I will be doing a lot of testing. This is just basic preliminary just ideas and what I want to aim towards, and I will be continually building and building on it as I kind of figure out what is best. But yeah, I definitely think Arumi's is probably one of the go-to flasks. Running, go back to the light/hybrid. We'll be running Wind Shrieks in the boots for the Trickster for its extra curse. If you run any of these as an Occultist, you can basically drop any +1 curse item unless you decide to run 4 curses. I will be testing to see if 4 curses in Bane is better or not. We'll find out. But the 60% increased area of effect of curse skills should affect Bane, which is why we're running it. If it ends up not doing it for some reason, even though they said that any modifiers to curse skills will apply to Bane, we'd run something like a Dodra's Damning. Another possible chess piece that we could run over a Carcass Jack. I prefer the Carcass Jack because the all-res, the life, the area, and the area damage. It's all stuff we want. Another thing, we could use a Cosprey's Will, get an additional curse, and curse can apply to hexproof enemies, which is really good, so we don't have to roll over curse-proof maps. But I think that Carcass Jack is better. Personally, it'll be easier to color. Getting those off colors are going to be kind of hard. We're running mostly blues. Another thing, potentially, Kintsugi is always a really, really, really nice chest piece to run. Perfect Form, even in life hybrid setups, could be really, really good. Actually, Hiri's Ire might be a really interesting run. We don't really gain too much from it, other than the dodge and spell damage. Basically, dodge an extra 10% dodge for each attack and spell damage. Excuse me. But it has a lot of evasion rating. It has almost 3,000 evasion rating. If we have we will have access to getting 30 quality, so this will go over 3,000 evasion rating, and it gives a lot of energy shield. It gives, like, I think on its own, I believe right now. Here we'll just put nothing in the body armor slot, and we'll find out exactly how much it gives us. It gives us over 1,600 energy shield compared to Carcass Jack giving us just under 1,200 energy shield. That's a lot. That's a lot of energy shield for one thing. Plus we get all the evade chance and the attack spell dodge, all that good stuff. So this, even though it doesn't help us out too much, it might be worth running something like this, especially in maybe a CI setup. This actually might be really, really worthwhile to run. Again, it's evasion, so it'll be kind of hard to color, but it's always an option. I'm mainly leaning towards Breath of the Council. This is just it's probably going to be a very, very popular weapon this league. 90% chaos damage, increased effective area skills, and increased duration of chaos skills. It's just really, really solid. It's kind of very, very difficult to beat this weapon. Another weapon I was thinking of running for clear is Obliteration. Maybe even 2 Obliterations just for clear. Maybe even in the offhand to swap to. But you get the Occultist Boom Boom. This is only run this if you're running a Trickster, not if you don't really need it if you're Occultist. It doesn't really give us too much else other than that clear speed, so it's kind of a thing to have in the back of your mind. Maybe on a weapon swap if you're clearing really fast. Another thing that I've created a weapon here, which is an Elder item. I'm pretty sure this mace might be very difficult to get, and it's not incredibly powerful. But if you run the Eldritch Battery and Mind Over Matter setup, it becomes incredibly hard to proc Arcane Surge, which we do use in this build, which means we need another way to get Arcane Surge, because even though that when you take Eldritch Battery, your ES becomes mana, and it is calculated as such, it doesn't actually proc Arcane Surge. And I don't know if that's purposeful or if that's a bug. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't really looked into it too much, but it doesn't proc. So the only other way to proc it is to get the affix chance to gain Arcane Surge on kill. So I made a scepter in here that is kind of similar to the stats you would like to get, just a bunch of spell damage, a bunch of cast speed, increase the AoE if you can, and then the Arcane Surge when you kill an enemy, craft it onto it. Be a pretty decent weapon to have. And it would allow you to run the Mind Over Matter setup, the Eldritch Battery Mind Over Matter setup. which would be really, really nice. Other than that, everything else here is just straight rare gear. It is stuff that has energy shield and max life on literally everything. They're kind of higher rolls just because I wanted to see what the higher end would be, but they shouldn't be too difficult to obtain because we haven't set any resistances on any of them, which means when you're building this character, and if you're playing in trade lead, you're searching for these items, you can just search for life and energy shield with pseudo res, so you can have any resistances possible, just as long as it equals a total of whatever number you set. And then you can be free to pick and choose, you know, maybe your rings get cold resistance and fire res, maybe your other ring gets, you know, lightning res and cold res, maybe you have, like, the belt gets all three, or the belt gets chaos res, which I would definitely recommend. I definitely recommend getting chaos res and getting at least over 0% chaos res. I try to aim towards 30 to 40% chaos res. If you can cap it out, it's really nice. It's a nice quality of life, but it's a little difficult. But it just frees up your ability to get resistances anywhere you need them, which is just, to me, is the better way of using path of building for planning, because then you're not locked into needing, say, 45 cold res and 36 fire res on your gloves, because that's what gets you over the LE weakness cap. So this is something that I highly recommend practice that you also take in. And then our jewels, these are a little unrealistic. You could probably get the life and energy shield with much lower rolls. These are the max rolls just because I wanted to see, but then also damage over time. These are actually the damage over time, or chaos damage, you can also get with fossil crafting. They're pretty easy to hit. Getting them with life and energy shields is going to be pretty hard. I do admit that. So these are much later in the league type things. But also the reason I'm using regular jewels over abyss jewels is because the new jewels will have the chance to be synthesized, and we might get some crazy properties out of that. So I'm just ahead of time planning to be using regular cobalt jewels most of the time, or whatever jewels end up landing with something decent like this. Obviously, if you go pure CI, you don't need the life, and if you go pure life, you don't really need the ES. So this is just for my own sake, to keep it really easy in the path of building itself. It was to have life and ES on everything, and then for life and hybrid, and then for low life and shavs, it's just raw ES, with the exception cobalt jewels are still the same. And for CI, it is basically the same. A couple things switched around. But I will be updating this as I go on. I will be having version numbers. I will be keep track every time I make a major update to it. I will update the version number. I don't know if I'll update exactly what I put in there and what has changed. I may not, but I will be keeping track of that, both within the description of this video, within the notes of this section, or within the notes section of this build, and on various lists for, like, Kit and Cat Noodles build starter list. I have this already there. I'll be keeping it up to date as I go along. We didn't talk about skills at all, so let me go ahead and do that real quick. I am planning to run Bane. My heart wants to make it work. I'll try to make it work. Currently I have Contagion here to kind of like get the AoE scaling. The damage I don't think is going to be similar, but I will be running Despair, Temp Chains, and Enfeeble, even though both Temp Chains and Enfeeble kind of got a bit of a nerf against rare enemies, at least. I do plan to run them anyway. They're still very, very powerful curses, and we don't really have any other curses that benefit us too much. Run that with Efficacy as a 5th link, Controlled Destruction as a 6th link. Possibly, instead of Controlled Destruction, running something like Poacher's Mark. The reason we run Poacher's Mark, if we do 4 curses, is because of the increased flask charges gained, and then cursed enemies grant, oh, never mind, Frenzy Charge. That was why. Assassin's Mark is the one for if we want cursed enemies grant life on kill and mana on kill. power charges don't really benefit us all that much, nothing else does, so it's kind of just in here as a just in case. I think Poacher's Mark would be the best because Frenzy gives you attack speed and cast speed, which would be really nice. Gives a little bit of damage as well, which is also really nice. And then the 100% flask charge is gained. It's just really nice quality of life. That's if we run 4 curses. Possible setup, because Bane gets up to, I believe it's 47%. It's either 47% or 49% extra spell damage, or more spell damage. Excuse me. See, I can't think. More damage. 49% more damage per curse that's linked to it. That means they are incredibly powerful multipliers, and adding in as many as possible will be probably your best bet. But just in case that doesn't work out, efficacy and controlled destruction will most likely be your best bets. Possibly even something like Conk Effect. Not entirely sure about that, since we are trying to scale the area. It's because possible to make the Bane hit almost the full screen to make it easier on clearing. Hopefully it works. We're running a Wither setup with Spell Totem, Multiple Totem. Just a lot easier to keep Wither stacks up this way, so we're running that. Flame Dash attached to Faster Casting, Arcane Surge. Faster Casting isn't really necessary. Arcane Surge is not going to be level 20, probably be a bit lower. But Arcane Surge saw a huge buff that gets up to 29% more spell damage at the top end. And I believe it lasts for 8 seconds now, if I remember correctly. Running a phase run with all the bells and whistles, increased duration, enhance, and efficacy. These all make it last longer. You don't really need enhance or efficacy, so you can replace these two with something else. For auras, we'll be running Malevolence, which is a 50% restoration aura, so I'm just running Wrath in here because I wanted to see how much mana I was reserving. Arctic Armor, again, I just wanted to see how much mana I could reserve. Arctic Armor is a really nice defensive tool. May or may not keep it. And then cast when damage taken, Immortal Call. I might swap those out. We have another 4 socket available to us, so I will probably be running something like a Vol Righteous Fire, even though it also got nerfed. I will almost certainly be running a Vol Blight. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. I will definitely be running Vol Grace, no matter what. I love Vol Grace. You get a lot of dodge and spell dodge with Vol Grace. I don't know. Oh, I was going to say I don't know why it's not working right now, but that's because I have this disabled. So we get nice bit of attack dodge and spell dodge from when Vol Grace is up. I currently have it disabled because I'm not entirely sure what I want to do there. Then in other chaos skills we have, like I've said earlier, Vol Blight, Essence Drain, Contagion, and Soulrend, things that I believe will be really, really good for them. But like I said, I'm a Bane boy. I want Bane to be good. I'm going to do my best to make it good. So yeah. I don't really want to go over all the other possible trees. Occultist kind of looks like this. Hybrid Occultist kind of looks like this. Different things. Life-based Occultist actually runs Withering Presence instead. So there's a lot of... I didn't really gear for an Occultist because I plan to do Trickster, but it is there in case you want to take a look at it and get some ideas for yourself. I don't know. I won't really update Occultist too much. Maybe here or there if I think something is just significantly better or worse, like the new nodes. If I have not taken them for Occultist, I might update that, but we'll see. But for now, that has been my starter build. Pretty in-depth look at it. Not really necessarily a beginner's guide, but just a good overview of why I've picked what I've picked. You know, just life, energy shield, life, energy shield, life, energy shield, grab chaos and damage where possible. And yeah, so that has been my build. Thank you guys for watching. I look forward to see you guys in Synthesis. I will most likely be streaming, not 100% sure, but if not, I will be making videos to at least keep track of my progress with this build, so you guys can keep a lookout for that. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.